of CAN presentation. And then we moved forward and we were looking at how to handle objections. Not quite. I mean, before that, we were talking about, I gave you some important tips regarding how to handle objections. What I said was that, look, I mean, first and foremost, keep in mind, do not get upset. It could be a very, very quote unquote stupid objection or a stupid question that has been raised, but there's no point in getting upset, no point in arguing with the prospective customer, because you might win the argument, but you will lose the sale in most cases. So the way you should be handling objections is to kind of treat them as requests for additional information. That you assume that, well, they don't have full information, and that's why they're kind of raising these objections, asking these questions. So let me give them more information, and hopefully the objections will melt away. And there are times when the objections won't melt away, and it's okay. I mean, if it's really a good objection, then it's not going to melt away. Somehow you have to be able to take care of those kinds of situations. And there are times when you will not make the sale at that point in time, but don't give up. Don't lose touch with this individual, because eventually you might be able to convert this individual into a customer from a prospective customer. Any questions? No. And then I think we talked about these methods also. The compensation method, the postponement method, and the feel, felt, found method, correct? We haven't? Okay. Okay, so this is where we ended, right? Important tips. Okay. So let's move forward, and let's move forward and let's look at the various ways in which you can handle objections. There are three major ways in which you can handle objections. One is known as the compensation method. The second one is known, as you can see, it's the postponement method. And the third one has a strange name. It's called the feel, felt, found method. Okay. So let me go through these one at a time. Let's talk about the compensation method first, and I'll try to use my color schemes over here. So this is what we're talking about, the compensation method. The basic idea here is as follows. See, when somebody raises an objection, almost always it is something negative in nature. Oh, the price is too high. Oh, but your warranty is not long enough. Oh, but you're not, for example, going to train us, and teach us how to use this machine, and so on and so forth. So what you do in the compensation method is that you compensate for this negative thing that the prospective buyer has come up with things that are positive in nature. With things that are positive in nature. So let's say you're selling a high-tech equipment to a hospital. Okay, you're selling an MRI machine to a hospital. It's a high-tech equipment, right? And the hospital, basically the purchasing committee tells you that, well, it looks like your price is, on the higher side compared to your competitors, etc., etc. So that's a negative. Okay. Now, rather than bringing down the price, which let's assume for the time being that you cannot, you might then try to compensate that negative associated with the price with certain positive things. So what you can say is that, yeah, our price is not the least expensive in the marketplace, but we give a warranty which is double the market standards. So the rest of the companies will give you a 2-year warranty. We give you actually a 5-year warranty, which is more than double. Okay. So in terms of, future expenses, it'll be a lot less if you were to go with our product. Secondly, what we do, what others do not do, we will provide not only the training, okay, but we will also periodically come after the training is over for those 5 years and train additional people, okay. And then we will service this machine every 6 months. We'll come by and take a look at it. Other companies do not do that. So the idea behind the compensation method is this whole host of positive things, the basket of positive things will completely outweigh this negative, and the prospective buyer will agree to buy your product. Questions on the compensation method? Okay, that means there are no questions. So let's move forward and let's talk about the postponement method. Okay. So when I teach this class, and I'm going through my slides, what am I doing exactly in terms of personal selling?
Sharing your knowledge to us.
Yeah, but in education-wise, yes, but in terms of in personal selling language, what would that be? I'm making a presentation, right?
Yes, sir. You are selling your.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm making a presentation. So what I have, basically the method of presentation is somewhat canned in the sense that I have slides so that I don't miss out on any points. But then it's also basically, not canned because, I am just kind of talking extempore. I don't have any notes in front of me. I'm staring at the screen and I'm talking. And when I teach the same thing in my second class this afternoon, my examples will change because that's a computer science class, and this is a pharmacy class. So I'm tailoring my presentation based on, I guess, my audience. You with me? Okay. So there's a reason why I'm saying this. I'm talking about the postponement method. So do you guys, or some of you guys, ask questions during my presentation?
Yes, sir.
You do. Okay, so you ask questions during my presentation, okay? And who asks the most questions in this class? Which is good. I cannot see because there are 11, 12 chat messages, so I have no idea who you're talking about. Okay, so there are 22 new chat messages. I have no idea what these are saying.
They're saying that it's Dare, sir.
Okay, Dare. So Dare, you win. Are you there with me? I think we lost Dare. Okay.
Hello?
So anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether to be happy or not.
No, I'm happy. The question is, are you happy or not? That's the thing.
Well,
But there's a reason.
I'm not sure.
Huh?
I mean, Sandra asks questions more than I do overall, like
Okay,
compared to
so
other
it's
classes.
Sandra. Okay, Sandra, you're in trouble.
Yes, I'll give it to
You
Sandra.
better get your sister. You better introduce your sister to Daria. Otherwise, you'll be in deep trouble. From now on with Daria. Okay. So anyways, whether it's Sandra, whether it's Daria asking me all the questions. So what do I often do with Sandra or Daria? Most often with Daria. I tell him, Daria, let's discuss this, later on during office hours. Do you guys remember? So what I'm doing is basically, I don't want my flow of presentation to be interrupted. So I say, okay, let's discuss it later on, and I go on with my presentation. So two things can happen. One is, by the time I get to, Dare went with marginal difference. Oh my God, are you an economics major? Okay, that's scary. Okay, so often what happens is, I postpone discussion because I might think that, well, in the next few slides, I'll be actually answering Dare's question. And sometimes I tell him that, well, why don't you wait? I will be actually discussing this, in the next slide. Or sometimes I'll postpone it, postpone the discussion till the class is over because I have limited time and I don't want to stop right now. So I'm using the postponement method. Now, remember, I'll never do that, for example, because I don't have an answer to Dare's question. If I don't have an answer to Dare's question, or I don't know, and there are things that I don't know, okay, I'll tell him that, look, I don't have the answer. Let me find out and let me get back to you. Okay, so that's the postponement method. So actually, this happened once when I think Suman asked me the question regarding what marketing was that? I even don't remember the term, Suman. A proxy
So
marketing.
proxy
Proxy
marketing.
marketing.
Yes,
So
sir.
I sort of talked about it for like 30 seconds, and I said I'll find out. I don't think I've heard of this. And so he had emailed me to remind me, and I found something online, and I sent it to him. And the explanation is, I think, pretty much decent. So we sorted it out over there. The same thing in personal selling. You will basically have to answer that question. If you don't know, you get back to the individual later on. But sometimes you just postpone it because you don't want the flow of your presentation to be interrupted. Any questions on number 2? Very good. Okay, now we come to this method where I know I'll have a lot of questions. This is the feel, felt, found method. The feel, felt, found method, okay? So here I'm going to set up an example, okay? So this is me, the salesperson, okay? And this is hospital number, let's say 2, and Dare is the director of purchasing for that hospital. And this is hospital number 1, and Suman is the director of purchasing at hospital number 1. Are we clear on this? The example? Okay, hearing no no's. Here we go. And I am selling, and I know this is not a very interesting example, but I'm selling an MRI machine. And I'm selling it to Dare, hospital number 2. Okay? So I go make the presentation, we are having discussion, and Dare tells me that, look, this is quite pricey. I don't know if we should be spending that much money, etc., 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 etc. So what I tell Dare is, I know, Mr. Dare, exactly how you feel. I know, Mr. Dare, exactly how you feel. So I'm empathizing with Dare. Then I'll say, Mr. Suman in hospital number 2 felt exactly the same way. That's felt. So not only I'm empathizing with Dare regarding how he is feeling, I'm also basically affirming his feeling by saying, Mr. Suman, okay? So, okay, this should be S. Mr. Suman, actually in hospital number 1, felt exactly the same way as you did. But guess what? Mr. Suman found that not only was this machine easy to use and more efficient, and actually, they could process more, I guess, patients. They were extremely happy with our service and our warranty and this, that, training, etc., etc., etc. So that's the feel, felt, found method, where the objection is basically handled in the following manner. You empathize with the person who's making the objections. That's Dare, hospital number 2. Then you give an example of how somebody else felt the same way. That's Suman in hospital number 1, where you already sold the machine. And then you tell Dare that, even though Suman felt it, and felt exactly the way you're feeling, well, he actually bought the machine. And, by using the machine for like 5-6 months or 1 year, he found that this was basically above and beyond his expectations. He was incredibly happy. So hopefully, once you give the example of Suman to Dare and how his concerns, that is Suman's concerns, same concerns were resolved over time, Dare might say, well, price should not be the only issue. Maybe I should consider this strongly, and I can always call Mr. Suman in hospital number 1 and find out. But yeah, I will consider this machine, and maybe Dare will buy that machine. So that's the idea behind the feel, felt, found method. Questions? This is wonderful, because I think this is the first time ever that there's no question on the feel, felt, found method. Most likely it's because I was able to draw this thing out, which is, as much as I complain about Blackboard, I guess, lecture as opposed to Zoom, I guess being able to write really helps. I think you can write on Zoom also, but there's some technical glitches. The moment I click on that button, the whole screen freezes. Any questions again? Going once, going twice, sold. All right, so let's move forward and let's look at
Sir,
what we.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so what if hospital 1 targets a different market and hospital 2 targets a different market? So in that case, this plan would backfire. The owner of hospital 2 would say that, look, they are aiming towards a different target market, so why should we spend as much as they are doing?
Yeah, but we basically I know that, right? As a salesperson, I've done my homework, and basically I will choose H1 the example hospital very carefully so that there could be minor differences here and there, but there wouldn't be major difference. Like one is a rural hospital, one is a for example a mega city hospital. So hospital 1 is in a mega city hospital. Hospital 2 is a absolutely rural hospital. So affordability is a big thing. So given
So
everything
this is a
else kind of
pre-approach
similar,
comes.
yeah, absolutely, you have to do your homework. I mean, when it comes to personal selling, if you don't do your homework, I think you are making a very bad mistake. So
All right, sir. All right. Thank you, sir.
okay, all right. So let's move forward and let's look at closing the sale, the various ways in which you can do it. But before we get there, just let me show this to you. Okay, closing the sale means getting the order. It means getting the order, that is converting the prospective buyer into the buyer, this individual signs on the dotted line. Okay, and this can often be the most stressful part of the sales process because we all, to some degrees, fear rejection, and therefore we hesitate to ask this person to close the sale. Okay, so it's kind of like when you're dating somebody, you're still hesitant to ask that that important question because you feel that there might be rejection. It's the same thing. Okay, most often stressful part of the sales process. But keep in mind when it comes to sales or selling something, not when it comes to dates. Okay, this is a big difference here. When it comes to sales, a no one day may be the foundation for yes another day. Okay, so it only applies. I gave you the dating example, but this thing only applies to SALES, okay, and not to the dating scenario. A no in that situation is a no, period. No two ways about it. Questions? Okay, Sandra gets it. All right, so let's move forward and let's look at the various ways in which you can basically get the order or you can close the sale. So again, there's nothing to hide over here. You can see what we have. So summary close, it is exactly what it says, summary close. You summarize the key benefits of the product you're selling. You summarize the key benefits of the products you're selling, and you hope that once you have summarized the key benefits of the product you're selling, this individual will sign on the dotted line. That is not my signature, I just made it up, but that's the basic idea. Any questions on summary close? You just summarize the key benefits of your product. Okay. Then we have something that's called the balance sheet close. If you have taken an accounting course, you know what it is. If you haven't, maybe you don't know what it is. Sometimes it's called this T accounting, where you have credits on one side and debits on the other side. So in balance sheet close, basically you have both the pros and cons. So you list all the positive points on this side, you list the negative points on this side, and this is what it is. You present the information in a balance sheet format. What you have to make sure is that the pros column, okay, the plus column is not only longer than the cons column or the negative column, okay? What you need to make sure is that this is what you have in this long column is way more impressive than the little few or the few negatives that you have in the cons column, okay? You can have a long list of pluses, but if the negatives are humongous, huge, then this short list will actually outweigh this long list. So not only you should have a long list over here, you should also make sure that in terms of weight, this is heavier than this. So now, ladies and gentlemen, why am I recommending, or why do we recommend presenting not only the plus, but also the minus, the negatives, when you're trying to close the sale?
Because sir, in this contemporary era, everyone
Mhm.
has a knowledge, something regarding any products. That's why we cannot just put the positive sides over there. So it might create the negative impressions on the customer's mind.
Okay, so you're correct, and that is saying sounds too good to be true. But sometimes, Molly Kumar, if let's say you don't have the knowledge, the salespeople will also present the negatives. So, but the fundamental idea that you have just conveyed, that, and also Darius said, that there could be a negative impression. In marketing or in advertising, we call this what's known as a two-sided message. Two-sided message. Okay, so you'll see a lot of ads that will talk about, of course, you can talk about the positive aspects of your product, but these ads also talk about minor negative things. You guys are in pharmacy, right?
Yes, sir.
Ads for pharmaceutical products will have in fine print the side effects. Okay, it'll talk about how, let's say, your product can take care of headache or high blood pressure, but there'll be basically in small fine print the side effects of taking your medication. That's the negative side. Okay, it's in small print that you're disclosing it. Now, in your case, you have to disclose it by law. I understand that. Okay, but in a lot of cases, you don't have to disclose some of those things by law, but they do it because two-sided messages, two-sided messages are on the average more credible than one-sided message. So the word trust came up, too good to be true came up. The moment you mention some of your drawbacks, you become a more believable communicator. Okay, more believable communicator. Yeah, Hajra, it's mandatory to disclose for pharmaceutical products, but for other types of products, it's not that, it's not mandatory. And they still will talk about some of the downsides of the product, and it's just that that it makes the presenter more believable. Okay, so anyways, the balance sheet close, you list both the pros and cons. So you present the information in a balance sheet format, this T account format. Okay, and what you need to make sure, what you need to make sure is that the pros column is longer and more impressive than the cons column. Any questions for summary close and balance sheet close? If not, we shall move forward and we'll look at the comparison close. So in a comparison close, you compare between two brands. So in this case, basically, you're looking at, let's say, a BMW and a Mercedes. Okay, this could be the 3 Series, and this could be the Mercedes. I think they have like 230, whatever the model is, the same size, similar horsepower, similar everything. So, and it has happened to us actually. At one time, we were thinking of leasing or maybe buying a BMW. We went to the BMW dealership and we said, we're looking at this other vehicle, and they, showed us. They actually had it ready on the desk. They didn't even know that I was coming, or what the alternative brand was. They actually, gave me some flip cards and said, well, here's the comparison, in front of you. So take a look at it, and then we can discuss. What you're hoping for is that, given my profile, given what I have told you, for example, as in terms of what I'm looking for in a vehicle, clearly this will come out ahead of the M230. Otherwise, they perhaps wouldn't use this type of a close with me. So compare between two brands, and then you make a decision. Questions?
Sir,
Yes.
I think that it is going to be the negative impressions on the particular brand, because those are so they are doing the comparisons of their alternative product of another brand, right, sir? So it might be a possibility that they have such a point that customers can pick up from these comparisons and get it their sell linked to the another brand.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, in this case, they're not pressurizing you or anything. At least in my instance, there's no pressure. They just gave me the information. And see, in this day and age, all the information is verifiable, right? They cannot really lie. I mean, I have my phone, in front of me, and I can easily, quickly kind of pull up the Mercedes information and I can verify that. But oftentimes what you don't get online is side by side. So they're just presenting this thing to me. And maybe, you know, from this is need satisfaction selling, right? You know, maybe what, you know, they have learned from the discussion with me is that I'm more into styling than you know, XYZ. I'm more into, for example, you know, a quick start, 0 to 60 in, let's say, you know, less than 5 seconds. And maybe on those dimensions, BMW 3 Series kind of, you know, you know, it does better than Mercedes 230. So when I see that in print, I'll say, oh, okay, these are the attributes that are important for me, 1, 2, and 3. And all these 3 attributes, actually 2 out of these 3 attributes, BMW is way ahead compared to Mercedes. So maybe this is the direction in which I should lead. So yeah, I mean, can what you are saying happen? Of course, it can happen.
Okay,
Okay,
sir. Okay.
but as a salesperson, though, Malik Kumar, you have to make a judgment that is this the type of clothes that I'm going to use with this individual.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Got it.
so that's where your expertise, your gut feelings, and all these things come in. I mean, you don't want to lose a sale by you know, obviously bringing to the table all these beautiful qualities of your major competitor.
Yes, sir. Yes. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay. The fourth option you have is known as alternative decision close. You see, the comparison close had to do with 2 different brands. You see, the comparison close had to do with 2 different brands. In alternative decision close, what is happening is that I have decided on buying a Jeep Wrangler. Okay, this is done. There's no debate over there. But now the situation is, am I going to buy the one that comes with the Willis logo, or am I going to buy the one that comes without the Willis logo? Okay, am I going to buy the one with the Willis logo and the convertible, the soft top roof, or the one that comes without the Willis logo and the soft top roof? Okay, so comparing 2 options within a brand. So they give you this, basically these options, and said, well, this is what we have in our dealership, and we can give you a better discount on this because it's sitting, you know, basically on a lot, but it has a soft top, but it does not have the Willis logo or the Willis package. This one we don't have, but we can order, and it'll take a month or so because it's COVID time. Otherwise, we could have done it in 10 days because it's going to be manufactured in this plant in Toledo, which is just 15 miles over here. But we cannot give you much of a discount on this one. So they'll present, you know, me the 2 options, which actually they did when we leased the last Jeep. And I said, no, we're going to go with this. By this, I mean, basically the Willis edition with the soft top. Let's order this, and I'll come back and I'll pick it up. So that's how it worked. And I was willing to forego a little higher discount because, you know, there was a strict, I guess, you know, a preference for the Willis logo. This also shows family decision making, joint decision making. This is something that my wife wanted, you know, a lot more than I did. For me, it was good because for both of us, it was nostalgia because in India growing up, you know, Willis Jeep is what we saw, you know, from the Second World War era. You know, not that I was born during the Second World War, but, you know, it was there in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So, you know, it was a way, or it is a way, you know, for us to connect with our past. So we said, okay, we will order this. So that's the idea behind alternative decision close. Any questions? Do we only use closing salesman or personal selling when customer is willing to buy? Dare? No. You have to assume that the customer is willing to buy and try to close. I mean, you know, if you wait till the customer says, yes, I'm going to buy, it is sold. There's no point in trying to sell it. So this is the most critical phase of the personal selling process. When should I ask for the sale? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So that it's if you know, it's kind of like you don't want to tell somebody or ask somebody, you know, do you want to go on a date when she has already told you she wants to go on a date?
Oh, okay. So
The
like
critical
it's
thing
kind
is, you
of
see, you know, when I relate this to real life examples, you get it. Everybody gets it. That's the magic, you see. But what you have to do is, if you are interested in somebody, you have to basically decide, okay, is this the right time to ask?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, I mean, see, this man knows. I mean, sometimes it is the right time, sometimes it is not the right time. But one thing I'll tell you, Dare, and this is true for sales also, if you do not ask, it is going to be a no. You know, in sales, this person will not buy. In real life, this young person will not go out on a date with you. Now, if you ask, it could be a no, it could be a yes. But if you don't ask, I guarantee you, it's going to be a no.
Mm. Okay, so like asking is like you just trying to clarify if the customer is willing to buy or not.
You're not verifying. You're trying to find out. I mean, if somebody's going to go out on a date or not. I mean, you have a casual kind of friendly relationship, and you hang out with a group of friends, and you seem to be interested. And, you make judgments based on the cues that this individual is giving you. For example, looking at you more than she's looking at others in the group. When you say something. When it's not, that funny, she laughs harder than the rest of the people in the group. So that something that's a signal. So maybe you should ask.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
See, Sandra can connect with all these things. I think everybody can connect with these things.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand.
Yeah. See. Okay. Anybody else? Any other experiences you guys want to share with me or Derek? So Sharon, share. See, everybody is very shy. So okay. Okay. Nope. I'm good. Okay. All right. Yeah, but what I said is very, very true. I mean, there's no, I guess, what should I say? There's no, I guess, lies over here. Okay, yeah, we're all shy, even I'm shy at times. Anyways, any questions? I'm sure she has something to say. I don't know. Any other questions? Anybody else? What happened? I mean, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Iran went to sleep. China. No, Sharon is completely zipped up. Rest of you, like Suman?
Yes, sir.
You're still there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so everybody's very quiet, so that's kind of scary. Putting her cows in a row, what does that mean? Okay, Dare, we'll talk about this after the class is over. Okay, all right. So let's move forward and let's talk about standing room only close. Okay. Often when you go to buy something, they might say, buy now or else it'll be gone. We have no idea when the next batch of supplies will come. So, and we don't know if the price is going to be the same or it's going to go up, etc., 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 etc. So they create a time pressure on you to buy it right away. Sometimes it's a buy now or else, from next month the prices are going to go up. And actually, you see, on Facebook, that ads will come up for, new products that are being launched. Oftentimes, they'll say, pre-launch price, pre-introductory price, and you get a 20% discount. But when it is introduced to the entire marketplace or the market space, the price will go up. So those are all examples of standing room only close. It's basically an interesting name, but this is what it means. Any questions? All right, the next closing method is using this extra inducement clause. And they say, if you buy now, we will increase the warranty by 2 more years. Okay, if you buy now, we're going to give you 24 months free financing. Okay, zero interest financing. Okay, so limited time offer, short time. So limited time is like more like, number 5 Hajra or short time offer. But extra inducement clause has to do with, basically, bumping up the warranty, okay, let's say by 2 years, or giving you this 24-month interest free. And actually, this has happened to me. So I think, I don't know if I talked about this 3-4 months ago. We had the kitchen pantry kind of racks done by professionally, and also the master bedroom closet kind of done professionally. And the name of this company, I think it's Closets by Design. And they came, the measurements were taken, and the standard game started. Okay, 40% off. That was already announced, so I knew that. And then if you buy it now, it'll be 15% off, an additional 15% off. So that's extra inducement. And then I'm hemming and hawing. Should I go? Should I not go with this? They said, okay, we'll give you 24 months of interest-free financing. So, but if you sign now, so I signed. I said, okay, over the 24 months, I'll pay a small amount every month, and I won't feel the pain. So let's go with this. So that's the idea of extra inducement clause. Any questions?
Sir, aren't these more sales promotion than personal selling? Because in sales promotion, you had mentioned.
Yeah, so this is why you're using those two things in conjunction, but you're doing it face to face. You're making those offers on the spot. When it comes to numbers like 40% or 15% of that sales promotion. Now, somebody might argue increasing the warranty, is that sales promotion, or is it extra inducement in a different way? So some of this we can discuss and debate, but this is a good example of where, and I always say in my class that, look, I'm going to explain to you these things to you independently of each other, because that way it's easy to define personal selling, it's easy to define sales promotion. But almost always you use these things together. So remember, I said sales promotion is used in conjunction with advertising or personal selling?
Yes, sir.
Rarely used by itself. I didn't say that, well, you never use it by itself. So I said you use it with advertising and personal selling. So here is this example.
Yes, all right.
Okay, so good catch. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, I have number 7, which actually was told to me by a student of mine who happened to be in sales. So I said, yeah, I kind of like this. So I threw this in, I added this. So it's I don't think it's in any book. It says assumptive clause. Basically, what this means is that as you're speaking with the prospective buyer, you look at her body language, you look at his body language, okay? And based on some of the cues that you're getting, you assume that this individual is ready to buy, ready to go on a date with you, and you ask for the date, or you ask for the signature on the bottom line, and basically you close the sale. That's the idea behind assumptive clause. Can you make a mistake assuming that somebody is ready to buy the product or go on a date with you? Of course you can. Okay, but it never hurts to ask based on those cues that you're getting from this individual. Questions? Well, this class is incredibly quiet this morning. So, well, morning it's for me. I guess I don't know what time it is. In your part of the world, I guess it's in the evening. So, all right. So let's move forward and let's look at Salesforce management. Actually, there's a course on sales management. We have 3-4 slides on this, so we'll cover some important issues here. So there are 4 things that we will discuss. The first one has to do with structure. The second one has to do with size of the sales force. The third one has to do with compensation relating to the sales force or compensating the sales force. And the fourth one is supervision and evaluation. How do you supervise a sales force? How do you evaluate a sales force? We will focus our attention mainly on evaluation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about structuring the sales force. So we'll talk about structure, size, compensation, and then supervision and evaluation with main focus on evaluation. All right. When we come to number 2 over here, which is determining sales force size, we will work on a problem. which you will see on your final exam. Okay, so assuming you have no questions, let's move forward and let's look at basically first structure followed by sales force size. So structuring the sales force, how do you organize your sales force? Okay, oftentimes you have different groups looking after different things, looking after different areas, looking after different products, for example. So there are various ways you can group. So structuring means grouping the sales force. So there are various ways in which you can group the sales force. There are 4 ways, and let's talk about those 4 ways in which you can structure your sales force. So again, there's nothing to hide, but don't read everything at the same time because that way you'll be distracted. So what we have over here is, unfortunately, because of reformatting, it basically has been messed up. Anyways, so first you have what's known as the territorial structure or geographic structure. Territorial or geographic structure. So to explain territorial or geographic structure, I have here the map of, any idea, the map of what?
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay, all right. So here we have, actually this is one place where Canada is to the south of the US. So for those of you that are sitting in Canada, you are kind of over here. Okay, so this is Detroit. Okay, and this is Ann Arbor. This is where I'm sitting. Okay, so we're talking about territorial or geographic structure, and we have Michigan over here. All right. So let's suppose, and I'm going to give you, let's say, I don't know, okay, here. You are the distributor of this, particular, hot salt from Louisiana. Slap your mama. Okay. The example, not the example. On the example might be different, but let's assume that you're the distributor of this particular product. So what you have done is that, and you're distributing the product in Michigan. So what you have done is that you have divided up Michigan into 3 different parts. One is, okay, so this part of Michigan actually, this is called the Upper Peninsula. This is the Lower Peninsula, of course, or the lower part of Michigan. I don't know if you call it the Lower Peninsula, but this is Upper Peninsula, and this is the bottom part of Michigan. So what you have done is, and this is very sparsely populated, so you have drawn a line over here. Okay, and you have said that, okay, I have 10 salespeople for Michigan. Okay, I'll have 2 salespersons taking care of this area, the Upper Peninsula plus the upper half of the lower part of Michigan. Okay, then what you have done is you have divided the rest of Michigan, let's see, as follows. Draw a line over here, okay, right here. So this is southeast Michigan over here. This is southwest Michigan. And you're saying that 2 gone, we have 8 left. We'll have, let's say, 5 salespeople taking care of this area because the population is huge over here. And then we will have 3 salespeople taking care of this area. Okay, so that is a territorial structure. Questions? Or structuring your sales force based on geographic regions. Any questions? Okay, very good. So let's move forward and let's look at other options. The second option is to structure your sales force on the basis of the type of product you're selling. So if you go to any car dealerships over here, okay, you have a used car section and you have a new car section. And you actually have separate groups of salespeople taking care of used cars. They're selling used cars versus selling new cars. So this is how the sales force is organized in, let's say, an auto dealership. Very simple. The third method that you can, basically way of structuring your sales force is based on task or function. Task or function. So universities try to raise a lot of funds. Political campaigns try to raise a lot of funds. So the fundraiser, what they might do is basically divide the salespersons the individuals that are going to call the potential donors, into two groups. One group will focus on the current donors. They have already been donating for the longest time. So you focus on these people. And then you have another crack team of salespeople that will focus on the potential donors and convert them into current donors. So those are the two groups based on task or function. Finally, you can set up your sales force on the basis of customer type or target market. So here's an example of Dell, for example. They are after the government market. They're after hotels and motels, for example. They're after universities, for example. They're after hospitals, for example. So essentially, these are different types of customers, okay? Or rural customers versus urban customers. So they have organized their sales force, let's say, on the basis of their target market. Any questions?
In the target market, they are prioritizing this target market. I mean that first they serve to government, then hotels and universities like that.
No, they may not. I'm just, these are just listed. I mean, I came up with this one fine morning. Next morning, if I typed it up, it would be universities first, hotel last. So, but yeah, I mean, for example, the government market is big. That's where 80% of your resources are, sales are happening. Of course, we talked about the heavy half theory, the 80-20 principle. That's the market that we're going to focus on like crazy. That doesn't mean we're going to ignore the other markets, but given how chunky that market is in terms of how much money it brings in, we're going to focus on that.
Okay.
Dare, go ahead.
So,
Thank you.
could you please explain the structure, the product structure? You were giving examples of used cars versus new cars. I don't understand the explanations for that.
So should I use the postponement method?
No. Product structure.
No. Should I use the postponement method of handling
No.
questions and objections?
No.
Huh?
No. I mean, I prefer. I need the response now, so I can just.
Yeah, but I can as a presenter, I can use the postponement method, right? Because I'm in control.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's just an example that I'm using in real life.
Okay.
So what do you not understand about used cars versus new cars, Dari? So what brand of cars do you have in Nigeria?
Almost all brands: Toyota, BMW,
Okay, so you
Nissan.
go to a BMW dealership. Now in big cities, I understand that these dealerships don't have these huge lots. I mean, sometimes it's like a 3 or 4 story building, and that's where they have it. Okay, but still, if you go to the BMW dealership, how far is it from your home?
I don't even know anyone around. So
Huh?
I don't know
So
anyone around.
what is the closest dealership?
Uh, I'm thinking the Toyota.
Okay, how far is it?
I can't say. I'm not good at describing, distances like that. So I don't know.
You have no idea how far the Toyota dealership is from your home. So how
No.
much time would it take if you were to go there?
Let's say an hour, probably an hour.
An hour?
Mhm.
Don't go. If it were 10 minutes, I'd say go there this evening and explore.
Okay.
Okay, so you have the Toyotas on the showroom floor, okay, all the new cars. But if you ask them that, look, I'm interested in buying a car that is 3 years old, they might take you to a different section of the building or different section of that lot, and they will introduce you to the used car salespeople and say, well, here is John Doe or Jane Doe, and he or she will take care of you in this section.
Okay. So
Okay.
will offer me coffee? Why taking me around?
Sorry?
Will the person offer me coffee? Why taking me around?
I think you're breaking up.
I said, will the person offer me coffee? Why taking me around?
Well, that is, you have to be lucky, man. I mean, I don't know. In Nigeria, they offer coffee when you go to the auto dealerships.
I was just suggesting. It's part
No,
of the
I mean,
marketing.
here they do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, and it's basically not only coffee, man. There's sometimes donuts.
Oh, I should
Sometimes
probably,
cookies.
yeah, I probably should wait till when I get there before getting my first car.
And it's kind of like, I don't even have to ask. When I go to get my car serviced, I just go make my own coffee. When there's donut, I eat donut. Nobody cares. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't be eating donuts, at my age, but how can you resist donuts, man? When they're sitting in front of you, like 24 of them in a big box, looking so colorful and creamy and, chocolatey and all these things. Sometimes you have to indulge in life.
Yeah,
Anyways, okay. Yeah. So let's move forward, shall we?
yeah.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about now sales force size. Okay, here is the problem. So sales force size we are talking about, SFS, sales force size, is a function of T times N times L divided by S, where T is the total number of customers, N is the number of calls per account per year, L is the length of each sales call, and S, this is usually a standard number that the industry uses, is the sales time available per salesperson each year. You with me? Any questions? All right. So here you go. Work on this problem for me. Take like 2 minutes and solve this problem. SFS is T times N times L over S. Okay. I want you to solve this problem quickly because I need to finish personal selling and then get into pricing today. 12,000 times 1,200 is 100. Okay, very good. So everybody has 100. So who doesn't have 100? Who's confused? The key thing is this thing, you have to convert this to a yearly basis. Okay. So here is the solution. And as you can see, I have shown this in red because 1 times 12 is 12. Any questions? So given that you have 5,000 customers and you have to meet them once a month, for example, and you spend 2 hours every time you meet these individuals, and you have this industry standard of 1,200 hours a year, on sales, this is, how many salespeople you should be hiring, or you should be having. Questions? $100, yep. Orfa. Anybody else? Any confusions? I guess that means no confusions. Let's move forward. And okay, Hanyu says no. So let's move forward and let's look at compensation. So compensation, folks, okay, before we talk about evaluation, you have 3 options. You have the straight commission option, you have the straight salary option, and then you have the combination plan. Okay, and then you have the combination plan, combination of straight commission and straight salary, or commission and salary. So let's look at these one at a time and quickly. So straight commission is mainly used by companies strapped for cash. What does it mean? Mainly used by companies strapped for cash. Well, poor companies, I don't know, I mean, if they're necessarily poor, but their cash flow is not
In need of cash, I guess.
in need of cash, short of cash. Okay, so they're short in terms of liquidity. I mean, the company might be okay, but they're strapped for cash. Okay, So please keep this in mind. What I've seen is during the exam, after I've explained this like 15 times in class what strapped means, somebody or some students will raise their hands and go, what does strapped mean? Okay, so no, it's basically, in this case, it's basically short in terms of cash or tied up in terms of cash, etc., etc. All right. In a straight commission method, the people are paid strictly on the basis of results. The more you sell, the more money you get. But there is uncertainty in terms of, if you don't sell, because it takes a while to build your customer base. And if you're not making any money in the first couple of months, how do you pay your bills? How do you pay your bills? So that's the uncertainty. Okay, so some companies will actually, use the combination plan. They'll give you a small amount of salary to make sure you basically survive the first 2-3 months as you're building your customer base. And then, of course, you take off based on how well you are in terms of sales. The second method is, the straight salary method, okay? And here you're paid on the basis of time, okay? The problem in this method is that, motivation could be an issue. Well, if I spend 8 hours working, I will get my $5,000 a month. Life is fine, why do I need to put in extra effort and so on and so forth? The problem is, yeah, you'll last for 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, but then you'll be fired if you're not performing. But state salary is where you are paid on the basis of time. So the problems with both of these methods are actually taken care of by this thing called the combination plan, where they give you a small amount in terms of salary. I don't know, let's say $2,000 every month or $1,500 every month. And then the rest is a function of how much you sell. It's a function of commission. Okay. I think I'd mentioned that, long time ago in the 1970s, sort of as I was kind of exiting college, I did work for a company in sales. And the name of the company was, RY, and they made weighing machines, scales, okay, industrial scales, also, regular, I guess, scales used in regular stores. So they used to pay me straight on the basis of commission. So you didn't sell, you didn't get any money. And it wasn't a very good experience. Okay, somebody raised his hand or her hand? No, okay. So if you don't have any questions, let's move forward and let's look at evaluations, quantitative evaluation, and then of course, qualitative evaluation. So these are the 4 ways in which we assess salespeople performance. You look at the sales volume produced by this individual. You look at the number of new accounts opened by this individual. You can look at the number of phone calls made by this individual, and then average sales price. This was also suggested to me by a student. So see how much I can learn from my students that have experience in the industry. Okay, average sales price, which is margin per account per sale, per sale. What this means is that often salespeople actually have the flexibility to reduce the prices. Okay, so I was talking to this guy who's in my other class, not University of Windsor, in my Wayne State University class, and he's in real estate sales. Okay, so he was talking about the fact that he had a big sale that was happening, but this buyer was creating all kinds of problems. And to make a long story short, this had to do with a, let's say, $800 dryer, washer dryer that was not working properly, and he wouldn't close on the house because it was not working properly. So the salesperson actually bought that dryer for him out of his own pocket. What that meant was that average sales price went down because, let's say, this was a $500,000 home, and he paid $1,000 out of his own pocket. So the sale price for that particular home became $499. Okay, so the average sales price across the 10 homes that he has sold has now come down, and oftentimes salespeople will be evaluated on the basis. If it's too low, the average is, then they are not rewarded because basically the perception is that, oh, they're offering too much discounts and they're not able to sell at regular price. So the evaluation is not that strong in that case. Finally, you also have to evaluate salespeople on the basis of qualitative factors. First one is sales related, that is, how good are they in customer relations? How good are they in report preparations, for example? So customer relations, I was reading the review of this one dealership in town yesterday for some reason, and I have interacted with them, and I've gone to the service department, There were lots of comments regarding this guy, who's basically the manager of service manager, and all were incredibly positive, reviews. How good he was in customer relations, how well he was taking care of his name is Phil Kaiser, how good he was in taking care of customers and so on and so forth. And the managers are actually reading those things and responding to these positive comments. And I guarantee you that Phil's raise depends on these comments that basically are being posted online. Okay. And also report preparation. I actually, we had a family kind of meeting yesterday, and my younger son, who is in finance, works for Citibank in corporate banking. He had prepared a report for this investment property that we have in New York, and it was absolutely. I called him up and I said, "Wow, this is absolutely fabulous the way he kind of prepared that report." He said, "Well, I just tried to use some of the things that I learned in the industry, for the family." So you're smiling. So report preparation is another thing. You evaluate salespeople on the basis of skills, for example, their knowledge about products, their communication skills. This is also very important. And this last one is very, 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 very important. Personal characteristics, motivation. How motivated is this person? Behavior. How does he or she interact with the teammates, others, etc., service people, so on and so forth. And this is going to be important for, I guess, I have 70 students in this class, maybe 25 of you who are constantly late for the class, and I have no idea why you are late. Given that you are sitting at home, punctuality. I mean, in this part of the world, if you're late, once in a while it's understandable. You call your manager up and say, "This is why I'm running late." But if you're doing this on a regular basis, you will very, very, very soon see the pink slip. I guarantee you that. Okay, so change and change very quickly. Questions? On personal selling. Okay, good. Next, we have this page, but there's nothing on it, so we're going to skip this. We're going to ignore this. Any questions?